Title: The Cursed Forest. The 5 friends had planned this trip for months. Jason, Emily, Mark, Sarah, and Chris had been best friends since college, and now, with their busy lives, they rarely found time to meet. A weekend camping trip in the remote Blackwood Forest seemed like the perfect way to reconnect. Legends of Blackwood Forest had been whispered among locals for decades. Stories spoke of strange disappearances, eerie whispers, and shadowy figures lurking between the trees. But to the group, it was just another ghost story meant to scare tourists. The first day was perfect. Hiking, swimming in the nearby river, and sharing stories around the campfire. As the sun set, a thick fog rolled in, and an unsettling silence swallowed the sounds of the forest. Jason tossed another log into the fire. "So, anyone remember the legend of Blackwood?" he asked, smirking. Chris scoffed. "Oh, come on. We've heard them all. A cursed forest, a ghostly figure haunting the trees, blah, blah, blah." Sarah shivered and pulled her jacket tighter. "Still, something about this place feels off." That night, Emily woke with a start. A distant whisper echoed through the trees. At first, she thought it was the wind until she heard her name. "Emily." Her breath hitched. She slowly unzipped the tent and peeked outside. The fire had nearly died, casting flickering shadows. But something was standing at the edge of the trees, a figure, tall and unmoving, its face hidden in the darkness. Emily gasped and scrambled backward, waking Sarah. "What's wrong?" Sarah whispered, rubbing her eyes. Emily pointed, but the figure was gone. The next morning, she told the group what she'd seen. Jason laughed it off. "You probably imagined it. Our minds play tricks on us in the dark." Chris nodded. "Or it was just some animal." But as they packed up for a hike deeper into the forest, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something had been watching her. As they walked, the forest seemed different. The trees stood taller, their bark blackened as if burned. The deeper they went, the quieter everything became. Even the birds had stopped chirping. Then they found it. A clearing in the middle of the forest with a single rotting cabin. The windows were shattered, the door barely hanging on its hinges. "Whoa, this place is ancient," Mark said, stepping closer. Sarah hesitated. "We shouldn't be here." Jason, always the fearless leader, pushed the door open. A gust of cold air rushed past them. Inside, the walls were covered in strange markings, symbols none of them recognized. Chris took out his phone to take a picture, but his screen glitched. Static filled the display before the phone powered off completely. "No way," he muttered. "My battery was full this morning." Then a whisper, louder this time, more distinct. "Leave now." Emily turned to run, but the door slammed shut. The air inside grew thick, suffocating. Shadows crept along the walls, shifting unnaturally. Then a figure emerged, not fully formed, but twisted and tall, its elongated fingers stretching toward them. Sarah screamed. The group lunged for the door, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers became deafening, now a chorus of voices wailing in agony. Jason grabbed a rusty chair and slammed it against the window. Glass shattered, and without hesitation, they scrambled through. As soon as they hit the ground, the whispers stopped. The shadows receded. The forest, once suffocating, now felt eerily still. They ran. None of them looked back until they reached their campsite. panting and shaking. The fog had lifted. The sky was clear. But something had changed. Chris checked his phone. The time read 7:15 a.m. "That's impossible," he said. "We entered that cabin at noon." None of them spoke as they packed up and left. As they drove away, Emily glanced into the rearview mirror. At the edge of the forest stood a figure, watching them leave, smiling